NBA trade deadline. Boy, was it a wild one. We saw a lot of moves from multiple teams. We saw some expected moves, real shockers on some of them, and definitely contenders making some upgrades, and then teams at the bottom of the conference making some really questionable decisions. So let's get into all of it. We'll start off locally with the Knicks. The trade they made to pull off Marcus Morris. I think this definitely was a good job by the Knicks to trade him. To me, there was no doubt about it. It's a little puzzling that there was some conversation in the front office about doing it or not. Then I made the video, my last video, about Steve Mills getting fired. Leon Rose will be taking the realms, and I just thought that was an interesting hire going with an agent. You know, we've seen the Lakers do it, Rob Pelinka, obviously the Mets with Brody Van Wagner. So the Knicks are taking a risk. What I don't like personally is that the thing I've heard, about Leon Rose is that he's had good players be under his agency. And I still don't like that the Knicks are so focused, and their main focus is still star chasing, and they have struck out every time when they've been trying to get these stars. And they just feel that because Leon Rose maybe has better connections in the sport and with these particular players, that they're going to have a better opportunity to sign them. So I don't like the Leon Rose hire if the number one priority, which it probably still is just to get star players. I'd be more concerned with the guy that's, a little more under the radar, that could find the pieces that no one's really looking at, that they could find the good second round picks or the undrafted guys, or just find the correct group of players and just put them together and make a winning team. And once you put together a winning team and a winning culture, I think it makes it even more easier to get the stars than just having the connections. Because the thing is, you want to say, oh, we're New York, that hasn't gotten you anywhere so far. So I just don't like that the Knicks keep trying the same thing and hoping for different results, but they keep getting the same results. So I definitely have not been a fan of that, but we'll see what Leon Rose could do. You know what I mean? I hope he could draft. I hope he could find the right guys, get the right coach, because the Knicks are going to need yet another coach. And then he's going to have to try his best to recruit, because that's what he's in here for. It's in because the Knicks want stars. So Leon Rose definitely has got to get that done. But the Marcus Morris trade, he was dealt to the Clippers. And what ended up happening during the trade deadline, leading up to it, was the Clippers and Lakers were having a bidding war for Marcus Morris. The two LA teams, they're probably the best two in all of basketball, definitely the best two in the Western Conference, and they're most likely going to match up in the playoffs, and whoever wins that is going to decide who's in the finals. Maybe who decides who wins the championship altogether. So you definitely want to try to make yourself better than the other. And Marcus Morris, with the kind of season that he's had, being able to put up points and shoot such a great percentage from the three-point line, a career season for him, he provides a lot of value to really any contender. And you're seeing it more and more, especially with this trade deadline, how much these teams crave three-point shooting, how perimeter-driven this game is. The last one I want to get to is Andre Drummond, because to me, that was the most notable trade of them all. I'll get to that one later. But you could just see that with Marcus Morris, being 6'8", 6'9", he has that small ball body, I would say, to fit in those kind of lineups. And the fact that he could space the floor and get his own shot, and he brings toughness to your team. Marcus Morris brings everything you need to a playoff contender. So the Clippers and Lakers, they're bidding, they're trying to, different reports out there. And the Knicks, they had interest in Kyle Kuzma. And the Lakers, they have some interest in trading Kyle Kuzma, because if you remember on Christmas Day when Kyle Kuzma had the comments about LeBron, him maybe not being as good as Kawhi, possibly being afraid of him and what have you, once you mess with LeBron, you're out the door. I mean, you think of what happened in the offseason with LeBron getting the entire team and all their draft picks traded just to get his man Anthony Davis. And that trade really has worked out better than I thought. I knew Anthony Davis was a good player, but the fit between him and LeBron has really been great. And what I've liked for LeBron is that he's definitely changed his game a little bit. He's been more pass heavy. You see how many he's leading the league in assists per game. So I think that's definitely a really nice thing that LeBron is doing, really incorporating Anthony Davis into the team. And Anthony Davis is playing a career season as well. And for me, he's definitely an MVP candidate because of the change he's made to the Lakers. You think this was a team that, yes, LeBron had his injuries, but he did play a good amount of games, and they missed the playoffs. Then you add Anthony Davis, all of a sudden you're in the first seed. Now, they've made other nice moves. I mean, talking about Leon Rose, Rob Pelinka has done a really good job, because you think against somebody like Danny Green, who I love. I think he's a really valuable player. Again, if you're a playoff contender, if you're a team that wants to be on a championship team, you need someone like Danny Green, because he's a guy that he's played defense really well. He hits three-pointers, and he's won a championship for two different franchises as a starting player on both of those teams. So Danny Green definitely gives you the experience and all the other, little things that you need to be a playoff team. So I definitely like him. Dwight Howard has been a revelation of himself, getting not exactly the player he was in Orlando, but being a productive player, being someone who gives you valuable minutes and gets the job done. And he has a small role, where it's just scoring inside, getting some rebounds, blocking some shots, playing defense, all things that Dwight Howard does well. And I was just really disappointed. I'll get to this later on as well. The Lakers-Rockets game last night, I think that Dwight Howard and even JaVale McGee, they deserved more minutes. I think that the Lakers should have exposed the Rockets' lack of size more, and we'll get to the Rockets trade next. But still, I just think that, Dwight Howard, if they were to match up with the Rockets, I think he's a player that could be an X factor in that type of series if the Lakers decide to use him right. We'll see, because everybody's just so three-point crazy. But the trade for Marcus Morris, it was Mo Harkless and a 2020 first-rounder with the rights to swap 2021 first-round picks with the Clippers. Not likely, because the Clippers, they're probably going to have a really good record in 2021, so you don't think they're going to swap picks there. But they also got a second-round pick, which was nice, and then you also get the rights to the Wizards second-rounder, Isaf Sanan, who is yet to play in the league. This is all courtesy of Steve Popper, his tweet. He's from Newsday. So really good job by Steve giving us that information, because one of the things about these trades, and we really saw it during this deadline, is you get so many reports. You're like, okay, this guy's in this deal. Okay, no, he's not. Like, you just don't know who's going where, and then it's like there's a second-round pick. No, this guy's going to this team. And one of the other things, while we're talking about trades, how about the Mookie Betts deal right now being held up? Rattle is the one that is holding up the trade for Mookie Betts right now, so it just comes to show you that you never know what's going to happen with these trades. They definitely are really wild things. So, again, credit to Steve Popper as, getting the information right, because that second-round pick, I mean, with all the reports out there, it was hard to find. But I think the second-round pick is important, because just getting a first-round pick from Marcus Morris, that was a win right there, because here's a guy that you signed him to a one-year deal, not a lot of money. You weren't expecting him to be a building block for the future because he is in his 30s already, and you still are years away from competing. So the fact that you didn't have to spend a lot of money and you got a first-round pick for him, and he gave you a little bit of production up to win a couple games, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't really matter for this particular Knicks season. I think just the first-round pick alone was definitely a win. You got a guy like Mo Harkless. I mean, he's pretty good. He's definitely a solid player. He's not going to help you be a championship team or anything like that. You need a lot more. I don't think he's a building block going forward. He's just kind of there, honestly. But I do like the second rounder just because you get another chance just to get something, really nice. Because the thing is that you could find good players on the second round. Think of Mitchell Robinson, who's probably the Knicks' best player right now. He came out in the second round. So now that you have the first round pick and the second round pick for Marcus Morris, it's going to be up to Leon Rose to find the right guys with those draft picks. So there definitely is pressure on him to get the job done, because if he doesn't do a good job recruiting and the Knicks still can't bring in free agents, he has to do well in the draft, because the Knicks have been doing a good job of at least allocating all these draft picks. But again, it's like you have to select the right guys when you have those draft picks. So that's the other important piece of it. But the next trade, this was a huge one. It was the 4-team deal between the Rockets, the Hawks, the Nuggets, and I believe the Timberwolves were the other team that was involved in this one. But the Clint Capella, Robert Covington, those were the two headline guys. And the Rockets moving on from Clint Capella after he was a guy that they thought was a building block for the future. They gave him a lot of money, which I was surprised that they did with all the money they already had, tied up to the rest of the team. At the time, they still had Chris Paul was getting a bunch of money, James Harden getting a massive contract, and you weren't able to maintain guys like Ariza, Luka Mbamute, who helped the Rockets get to their peak, honestly. The Rockets really should have beat that Warriors in that playoff series if Chris Paul did not get hurt. But you were not able to keep all the guys that you would have liked to, and now you factor in a guy like Russell Westbrook bringing his contract, losing Chris Paul, and you had Ryan Anderson on the team and whatnot, so you couldn't get Carmelo. So the Rockets, they've definitely had a lot of salary cap issues. But the thing about the Rockets is that they have been really trying to win a championship. Darren Moore's been trying to get so creative and try to be innovative to try to get a title in Houston. And they really, they have been one of the teams that really have believed in this small ball mentality, really be jacking up threes as much as possible. They have been one of the pioneers in that category. And this trade for Robert Covington, getting rid of Clint Capella, really leaving the Rockets with no, traditional center. It really just shows you how much the game of basketball has changed. And the Rockets are at the forefront of it. They are going to shoot a lot of threes, and they don't care. They're not going to get rebounds. They're not going to play the best interior defense. They're going to have, size disadvantages. And teams could get easy buckets if they wanted to. I mean, those baskets are there for them if they want to take them. So I think this trade was crazy because you have Houston, who gets Robert Covington. You have Atlanta, who gets Clint Capella and Nene, who was waived because he's an older player. Atlanta Hawks, I mean, they're a rebuilding team. You can't really do much for them. Minnesota gets Malik Beasley, Hancho Gomez, and Evan Turner. Pretty nice return for Minnesota, honestly. I mean, considering that they didn't really give up that much here. I mean, besides Robert Covington, who is a very nice player, and you think of the trade they made later with DeAngelo Russell, you would have liked to keep Covington. But, I mean, those definitely are some nice picks. And then they get Atlanta's first-round pick, and then Denver gets Gerald Green and a Houston first-round pick. So Denver also does well because Denver is a team that they've played really well. They don't have a lot of money tied up into their current roster. They are a team that is still young, and they've been good these past couple of years. We'll see what they do in the postseason. They've made some other, little moves along the offseason, getting a guy like Jeremy Grant, who I personally like. But Denver, again, make the right decision with your first-round picks. And Denver, I mean, you lose the Malik Beasley and you lose the Hernan Gomez, excuse me. But the first-round pick, that's always crucial. And the thing is that you can always flip those first-round picks because you think of some of these other trades. A lot of them, the first-round pick is really the key to getting the big-time player. You think of the Clippers and Lakers wanting Marcus Morris so bad, and that first-round pick really was the deal maker, honestly. And the thing is that the Lakers, they could not pull that trade off because of all those draft picks they gave up in the Anthony Davis deal. So they didn't have the assets to make it happen. And the other problem that the Lakers had is that with all the money they have committed to their team, Kyle Kuzma's salary did not match up with Marcus Morris' salary, and the Lakers didn't really have any other players that they could throw into the deal to really make the salaries work without hurting their team too much. So, I mean, they wanted to do a Kyle Kuzma, and they said, this is the thing that was crazy, they said Kuzma was off the table for the Morris deal, and really that was the only thing that made the deal worth it because you don't have the draft picks, and you don't have any other young players because you gave all them to New Orleans. So, I think the Knicks definitely made the right move. Take Mo Harkless, take your first-round pick, take your second-round pick. So, that really was a good deal between the three. It ended up being a three-team deal with the Washington Wizards being involved in there as well. So, definitely a good trade for the Knicks. And then what was really crazy about this four-team trade was just the little other moves that filtered in as the trade went along. You know what I mean? You would just be like, okay, now Minnesota's Keita Bates-Diop is going to Denver in this deal. Then you have Jared Vanderbilt is going to Minnesota, and Jordan Bell is going to Houston. Then Noah Vonleh is going to the Nuggets. So it ended up being even more than the original report. And all this came, of course, Adrian Wojnarowski, Woj dropping up just Woj bomb after Woj bomb. And you're just like, who else is in this deal? Because you just refresh and you see another player traded, and another player traded, and another player traded, all in the same deal. I mean, 4 teams, I believe it was about 12 players, and you had draft picks in there as well. So an absolute wild trade there. I mean, that really was crazy. That was before the trade deadline. That was a couple days before. So that definitely was a big deal. And the next one, this one got a lot of attention. The Andre Iguodala trade is Iggy goes from the Memphis Grizzlies over to the Miami Heat. This ended up also being a 3-team deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves as the Heat ended up receiving Andre Iguodala, Solomon Hill, and Jay Crowder. The Memphis Grizzlies received Justice Winslow, Dion Waiters, Gorgie Dang, and the Minnesota Timberwolves got James Johnson. So the Timberwolves, they got James Johnson, just because of the expiring contract. They were just willing to, take that one. And they got rid of Gorgie Dang on the flip side. The Grizzlies pick him up. And this was really interesting because Andre Iguodala, after the Grizzlies had acquired him, he had sat out the whole season, just saying, I'm not going to play until I'm on another team. And he wanted to be on a contender. And the thing that happened within this past month is that the Grizzlies, they got hot and they have improved a lot. And, they could definitely be in the playoffs if they continue the hot track that they've been on. John Morant has been an excellent pick. And it really stinks for the Knicks that they couldn't get the first pick to get the attractive Zion, or the second pick to get the really solid John Morant. And now RJ Barry, he's hurt right now. Not a major injury, but still he's been out. And Memphis, I mean, led by John Morant, they've been able to be a successful team. And it just thinks that Iguodala was designed to act that way. He really should have, the kind of player that Iguodala is, the kind of veteran leadership that he has, I really wish that he had used that for the Memphis Grizzlies to help that team out. But you know what? Memphis, they didn't have to trade Andre Iguodala. They really didn't. They could just be like, okay, you don't want to play for us? Well, then you're just going to sit there and, be miserable. But the Memphis Grizzlies, I mean, they kind of were nice enough to trade him because, you know what? Justice Winslow, Dion Waiters, Gorgie Dang, pretty solid players. Dion Waiters has had a really rough season with all the suspensions, and he's had injuries the past couple of years. But Dion Waiters, we know he's capable of putting together a lot of points. He obviously could get his own shot, whether that's a good shot or a bad shot to take. That's a whole nother story. But still, Dion Waiters, he could get baskets, and that's really important in the modern NBA. And Justice Winslow, I mean, he has not lived up to the hype. He's supposed to be kind of a 3-and-D guy. The D is there, the 3 not so much. And then Gorgie Deng, a solid big body, I mean, for the Memphis Grizzlies, but you much rather have Andre Iguodala. The thing about the trade for the Memphis Grizzlies, depending on the exact playtime these guys are going to get, I don't really know if that helps move them up in the seeds at all, especially in the Western Conference. So I do think it was nice by the Memphis Grizzlies to, give Andre Iguodala his request, put him on a contender in the Miami Heat. They've had a great year this year. They've definitely surprised me. It surprised a lot of people. And the thing is, not only do they get Iguodala, but they also get Jay Crowder. And Jay Crowder is going to make a big difference for that team because one of the things I don't like about Miami, I wish they did have a little more shooting, particularly on the wing position. Jimmy Butler's had a really bad year shooting threes. He's had a great year all around, another MVP candidate in my mind. But shooting threes has never been Jimmy Butler's forte. And I just think that Jay Crowder and Andre Iguodala are both going to help Jimmy Butler out a lot, especially on the defensive end. I mean, you're going to have really solid wing defense on this Miami team. You also have a great coach in Eric Spoelstra. So Miami is definitely going to be a pretty solid team. Not going to go to the finals, but they are going to be a good team. And the other thing is that Pat Riley, he was just going for it. He's like, why not? Because this is the most wide open it's been in a while, because you have a lot of multiple stars on different teams. So that has just made it where it's not like there's just a bunch of stars on one team. It's spread out very nicely this season in the NBA. So that definitely has been very nice. And the other thing the Miami Heat were trying to do, they were trying to get Danilo Gallinari from the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the thing that really ended up being a roadblock in this trade, I don't know how Miami was going to pull this off with the kind of contract situation they've been under, getting rid of James Johnson and Dion Waiters' contract. That helped them out a lot because James Johnson was getting a crazy amount of money. They've been trying to move him for a while now. But the thing is that Gallinari, when he's on the expiring year of his deal, Miami wanted him to agree to an extension, just like the way they got Andre Iguodala to do, and that's a team option, so that was a very smart move by Miami, just to see, like, if Iguodala does well this year, you have the team option to just bring it back next year, so that definitely was smart. And they wanted to do the same thing, but Gallinari, Gallo was not willing to agree to it at the time, so Oklahoma City ended up not making a deal for him, and they probably should have, considering that he is an expiring contract. He's another guy that's in his 30s. Oklahoma City is supposed to be a rebuild mode, even though they have the number 6 seed in the Western Conference right now. Again, another team that surprised a lot of people. And they could have used Gallinari and all the first-round picks they have to maybe get even better. But they're just staying pat and, just staying the course, which you can't really fault them for. At least they're rebuilding while being competitive. And the thing is that, like, if they weren't in such a tricky cap situation and they weren't in Oklahoma, like, this is the way the Knicks should do it. Like, be able to win while still getting as many draft picks as you can. Like, that's the kind of model that Leon Rose should try to follow with the Knicks. I don't think he's going to. I still think they're going to be star chasing like crazy and tank like crazy to try to get the star in the draft or the star in free agency. So, again, I'm not crazy about that model, but that's just the way it has been for the Knicks. The next trade we have was the DeAngelo Russell trade. Like I said, I kind of wanted the Knicks to look at him. I thought that he could provide some value. I believe the point guard position is just too in points and not have a really solid player there. DeAngelo Russell was an all-star last year with the Brooklyn Nets. He obviously could play in New York. That's not something you worry about as much as basketball as you do with baseball. But still, I just felt that D'Lo definitely could have helped the Knicks out a lot. I know you would be giving up a lot. Those draft picks that they've coveted so much, you'd lose some in the DeAngelo Russell trade. You also would be taking on an expensive contract, which, that's going to happen with any point guard. And, my thought on it is just like you're not getting Kemba, you're not getting Lillard, you're not getting Curry, you're not getting Westbrook, you're not even getting a Chris Paul. So the way I look at it is that you just need a star point guard so badly in the modern NBA. How else are you going to get one? Because they're not coming to you as of right now. So at least DeAngelo Russell, you get a young, really good point guard just to at least kind of compete with all these other point guards you're going to face on a nightly basis. So that was just my thinking on it. And this definitely was a weird trade for both teams, as DeAngelo Russell ended up getting traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And for the T-Wolves, I understand what they're going for. You obviously have Karl-Anthony Towns, so you want to make the most of his prime and of his time as a member of Minnesota. I know there were some rumors that he could possibly be on the move and want out of Minnesota. The Knicks are going to try to get him because Leon Rose has the connection to Karl-Anthony Towns. So that'd definitely be nice to see Cat, come to New York. But the thing is that they're trying to bring DeAngelo Russell over there so that they could keep Towns in Minnesota. And the thing is that what I did not like for the Minnesota side of it is that you lose the first round pick, you lose the second round pick, and you lose Andrew Wiggins, who he was number one overall pick a while back, it seems now. But still, you lost a lot of your draft capital and your future. And the thing I know about Minnesota is that they're currently on, I believe, it's a 13-game losing streak, and they're just way out of it in the Western Conference. So the DeAngelo Russell trade, even if D'Lo is hot and Cat is great, and Minnesota wins games, they still aren't even going to make the playoffs. So I just think that this wasn't really the time to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that Minnesota was willing to give up their future with the uncertainty that Karl-Anthony Towns is going to stay. The struggles that DeAngelo has had this year, I mean, he has been injured. He hasn't played nearly as well as he has last year. He's played okay, not as good as last year. So it definitely was a bit of a risky move, and I just don't think it was worth it because of what D'Lo and Cat have around them. I just believe that with as bad as Minnesota's been playing, even with DeAngelo Russell, this probably still isn't even a playoff team. So I definitely think this was a confusing deal for both sides because the thing about the Warriors is I know they gave up on DeAngelo Russell. That's what the report said. But I would just like to see one season of Curry, Clay, and DeAngelo Russell, with the Draymond Green. The Warriors, they have the worst record in the NBA right now because of injuries, and they don't have DeAngelo Russell anymore. But that team healthy, they still are definitely a playoff team, and they can make some noise because with Curry's, they call it spurt ability, the way Curry could just hit 3 after 3 and put up 20 points in a quarter, and Klay Thompson could put up 20 points in a quarter, DeAngelo Russell could put up 20 points in a quarter. So you just have these 3 guys that could just rain threes, and you could recreate the Splash Brothers and really just outshoot teams and score so many points. And you have DeAngelo Russell who could create for other teammates. He could set up Steph Curry. He could set up Klay Thompson. I believe that he would have fit with the Warriors team, especially the style play that they have with Steve Kerr's offense, how much ball movement there is. I really feel like D'Lo could have fit with that Warriors team, and I don't think that Andrew Wiggins would fit in as well as DeAngelo Russell does. Andrew Wiggins cannot shoot the three-pointer consistently. Every year he has 33% from three-point line, which is unacceptable. It isn't good enough. It's not reliable. But D'Lo, on the other hand, he could hit his threes, and he may take some crazy shots. But I just feel like DeAngelo Russell is a lot more effective an offensive player than Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins, he could defend a little bit. He can't defend Andre Iguodala status. That was a big piece for the Warriors. Probably not even Harrison Barnes status. So, yeah, I really did not like this trade for either side. But, I mean, what are you going to do? The Warriors, it looks like they're not rebuilding. And that's the thing about the Warriors. They're in a really weird spot because they're not fully rebuilding. They're kind of doing an Oklahoma City thing because they're tanking right now, but they still have Curry and Clay coming back, so their team is going to be good. And then they're going to have the really good draft pick this year, and they're going to have Minnesota's draft pick, which is probably going to be pretty good with the record they have right now. So the Warriors, I understand what they're doing. I just don't think that you had to get rid of DeAngelo. I would have liked to have given it one season because you signed him for a few years. So if you could just see the one season of D'Lo with Curry and Clay and that didn't work, then you could trade him. Even if D'Lo played well, he just didn't fit well, I'd be much more okay with the trade, but what are you going to do? The next trade, the 76ers, I mean, they had to make some kind of move with the struggles they've had, especially on the road. I mean, they've been good at home. But Philadelphia, they add Glenn Robinson III, and they also add Alec Burks, and they send James Ennis to the Magic. And James Ennis, I mean, this has been a guy who, I mean, he hasn't really gotten the job done. The Rockets brought him in. They thought he was going to fill that regional role. Has not happened. The Sixers brought him in, thought he was going to be a 3-and-D guy. Has not happened. Now he's with the Magic, and who knows what's going to happen there. But for the Sixers, I do like getting Alec Burks. Alec Burks been having a good year. He could generate his own shot. He could get baskets. Glenn Robinson III, he's athletic. He can hit some threes. So, I mean, those are 2 okay players. What I don't like is that the Sixers, they got a second-round pick. That's good. But the Warriors, they get 3 second-round picks because of Alec Burks being moved. So the Warriors, again, they're like rebuilding but still competitive. So I think the Warriors in a couple of years, they might be scary again if they select the right guys, which they probably would because, Bob Myers, he's done a great job in Golden State. So, we'll see what happens there. But for Philadelphia, this isn't the move. They needed something bigger, and it's crazy to say that considering the starting lineup that they have. I mean, the starting lineup of Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, Joel Embiid, like that should get the job done. You really shouldn't need any other pieces in the starting lineup because that's about as good a starting 5 as there is in all the NBA. Probably the best talent-wise, position by position. But the thing is that Philadelphia, they do really well at home, and they have a very passionate fan base, which we know. We've seen the parties that Philadelphia will have when the teams win a major title like they did for the Eagles a few years ago. But the thing about Philadelphia is that when they're on the road, they are nowhere near the same team, and that is what has given them the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. And that is just really disappointing because they have a better team than Indiana. They have a better team than Miami, probably a better team than Boston and Toronto. But Boston and Toronto are just playing so well. And you know what? A lot better than Philadelphia, because you look at Philly, just to give you an example, their home record is 22-2 compared to their road record of 9-19. So they go from being an amazing team to an awful team. Like, a team with that much talent, like, that shouldn't even be possible, honestly. Like, it's still mind-boggling. And if you watch the Inside the NBA last night, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and those guys, they're like so disappointed in Philadelphia because obviously Charles has his ties to Philly playing for them. But they just know as basketball players what this team is capable of, and we all do. We all know what Philly could do, but they have not done it. They have not lived up to what this should be. This should be a team that could go to the finals. You know what I mean? Like, that is how good the Philadelphia roster is, but they don't get it done. And personally, I just don't think the Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid combination will ever work. You can't have your center being the guy that shoots threes, and your point guard is scared to take a three. You just can't construct a team that way. It doesn't work. Especially when Joel Embiid could be the most dominant big man in all of the NBA. But because of Ben Simmons' play style, he has to be behind the three-point line. And the thing about Philadelphia is that if they could balance it out better, and Al Horford, he could be on the block, he could be behind the three-point line, same as Joel Embiid, like, they could make such a diverse offense and a versatile offense. And it stinks that potentially Brett Brown is on the hot seat. He's a good coach. I like Brett Brown. But, I mean, the fact that this has happened and Philadelphia has been such a disappointment, and they're not showing the playoff toughness that you need. If anyone could have used LaMarcus Morris, I think he could help Philadelphia a lot, just to give him that toughness on the road. This way he could be like, hey, guys, we know what we're capable of. Let's, lock up. Let's get it done. And so it just has been a weird year for them. And this, getting a Alec Burks and a Glenn Robinson, it just isn't going to get it done. It's not going to make them that much better on the road. Maybe they win a game or two here or there because they're getting more points, and you have to get more points than the other team. But it's not going to do much. But this one was the one that really had me off my seat. I still don't even believe this trade was real. But this trade was so telling of the way basketball is right now. And that was the Andre Drummond to the Cleveland Cavaliers deal. Now, you're saying Drummond to the Cavs, that doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't. But what doesn't make even more sense is the return for a player like Andre Drummond. And the return was Brandon Knight, John Henson, and a 2023 second-round pick. Like, that, it's mind-boggling that a player who is an all-star, he is one of the best centers we have as far as defense and rebounding and rim running. The centers that are still around, that's kind of what they do in the modern NBA. And the fact that is all Andre Drummond can net from a team like the Cavs, that makes no sense to me. Because if that's the package that Detroit was looking for, I was saying, why didn't Houston do it? But after watching the game last night, which we'll get to at the end, I understand why Houston didn't do it, because they don't want a center. Even if you offer them a center, like, they got Jordan Bell and they traded him. You know what I mean? Like, they do not want a center on their team. They want small ball and they want to shoot threes. And Andre Drummond doesn't do either one of those things. So he doesn't make sense for them. But I just felt like he could help the Clippers. The Lakers, he would give them even more of a size advantage than they already have. Philadelphia, he could help them. Indiana, he could help them. Boston, he could help them out. You know what I mean? Like, Milwaukee, maybe. He could help. For that package, he could help anybody, because you're not losing anything from your core or your starting players. You're losing bench pieces and a 2023 second-round pick, and not even good bench pieces. I mean, no offense. I don't want to be offensive at all, but Brandon Knight has not been an all-star player, and John Henson has not been an all-star player. These are not, some of the best players in basketball. These are not top 50 guys in basketball. So I just feel like it just really shows that the big man is gone in the NBA, and I feel bad for Andre Drummond because he is a good player, and the fact that he goes to the Cavs, where, I mean, they're even worse than the Pistons, and that's kind of hard to do, but still, the thing is that, like, who's going to, if no one was willing to make that kind of trade for him, what team is going to sign him in free agency, and what is he going to make? Because the thing that really stinks for Drummond is that if this was 10 years ago, let's say, Drummond would make over $100 million, and now we have no idea what kind of money he's going to make. So I feel really bad for Andre Drummond because he's just the wrong kind of player in the wrong time period. So I do feel very bad for him that he is in this kind of situation, and it still just does not make sense to me that this was the return for a player of that caliber. Really, really blows my mind. I mean, even the Brooklyn Nets, they could have used him when you don't give up anything to your core. Like, yes, you have DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen who have the same exact skill set as Andre Drummond, but Drummond just does what they do better. And what they do worse, he may do worse, as far as like free throw shooting and three-point shooting. But still, I mean, he provides so much rebounding, defense, block shots, and all that stuff, dunks, a lot of athleticism. So I just feel like he could help. But then, I mean, with the Rockets, the way they just they traded Jordan Bell, that one was really crazy too. And then the game that they had against the Los Angeles Lakers, I was really intrigued by this game because first game for Robert Covington as a member of the Rockets, see what kind of impact he can make. And I just felt that if there's a team that's going to expose the Rockets in the playoff series, like because of lack of size, I felt that the Lakers are the team that could do it because they have so much size on their team. I mean, they're the best shot blocking team in all of basketball because of all the height they have and length with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, players like that. I mean, these guys are players that could back you down and they could score on you inside. They could block your shot at the rim and really take advantage of you if you have bad matchups. And the thing for the Lakers is that they did not post up Dwight Howard at all. And I'm not saying that when you have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, that should be, your first thing for offense is, okay, let's do a post up to Dwight Howard. The main point of your offense should not be Dwight Howard post ups, but I just felt that in certain situations, especially like the Rockets, when they're playing like Eric Gordon at the 4, who's 6'4", you know what I mean? And PJ Tucker at center, who's 6'6", and PJ Tucker's a really tough guy. So, I mean, he could play small ball center. I just don't know if he could do it for a full season and all the playoffs. I mean, could he guard Nikola Jokic for a playoff series? Could he guard Gobert for a playoff series? Could he guard Anthony Davis for an entire playoff series? It's going to be there's so much pressure on PJ Tucker to really, really perform. And he's capable of it, but it's just so hard to sustain. And the thing is just that, like, to me, the Lakers did not take advantage of what they had going for them, and that is size. Because the thing that really makes me upset is that Dwight Howard only got 4 minutes in this game. I know this is not Dwight Howard from the Magic, but still, he could make things happen against a smaller team in the Rockets, especially on the rebounds. Because the thing that I didn't like about the Lakers the most is how many three-pointers they shot in this game. The Lakers shot way too many three-pointers. They shot 31 three-pointers compared to the Rockets' 42. So you almost shot as many threes as the Rockets did. Like, you don't need to when you have this size advantage. You don't need to be jacking up all these threes. But if they were going to jack up all these threes anyway, I just felt that would have been nice to have Dwight Howard out there because he could have gotten you a bunch of offensive rebounds to give you more possessions, more opportunities to score, maybe even some easy second chance points for Dwight Howard himself. So I just think that he really, really should have been playing in this game. I don't understand why he wasn't. And the other thing is that even JaVale McGee, I mean, he only got 16 minutes. So that definitely blew my mind. You have Alex Caruso getting 27 minutes and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope getting 24 minutes. And the thing is that, like, KCP shoots 4 3-pointers. Rondo shoots 3 3-pointers. Caldwell-Pope shoots 4 3-pointers. None of them hit a single one. So, like, I mean, why would you go to that if that is not what makes you successful? LeBron went 1 of 8 from the three-point line. So the Lakers, they just continued to shoot 3 after 3 after 3, and it wasn't going in, but they kept shooting them. And then on the Rockets side, they kept shooting threes, and the Rockets, they happened to make their threes in this particular game. And that's going to happen. And Russell Westbrook had a tremendous game. Westbrook has impressed me recently. I've been very critical of him because I know what Westbrook is capable of. He's capable of this 41, 8, and 8 on efficient shooting. And what I like about Westbrook is that lately he has not been shooting anywhere to the amount of threes that he used to. And the thing that I did not like about Westbrook is that he would shoot almost 5 threes a game at a horrible percentage and would continue to jack them up. And they weren't even good three-pointers. But now with the Rockets, he has turned down his three-pointers drastically. He's getting to the basket more. He's using his team better with all the shooters that they've surrounded around Russell Westbrook, which he has never had before. I just think that now he is playing to the best of his potential and definitely has made a big boost for the Rockets because James Harden is having a down year. Because of how well Westbrook is playing, Harden has taken less shots. He's not shooting as well for the three-point line. He was in a major slump, and that's the thing about Harden. I mean, you want to talk about shooting threes and not making them and keep taking them. James Harden has been the king of that. So I think that all of that has been definitely very odd to watch. But the thing is that you're going to have games like this where Eric Gordon hits his threes and Westbrook is making shots and PJ Tucker's hitting his shots and Robert Covington was hitting a bunch of threes late. So he's showing the impact that he's having for this team. And then Harden's making his shots. But the thing is that when you live by the three, you can die by the three. And there's going to come times, and even in playoff games, where Westbrook's not going to have his best stuff, Harden's not going to have his best stuff, and Eric Gordon's going to miss his threes, and Covington's going to miss his threes. And when that happens, the Rockets don't have any other brand of offense, and they're just going to get punished. And if teams would be more willing to just take the easy two instead of the hard three and take advantage of the rebounds, they would be able to beat the Rockets. And I still, even though the Rockets played well last night, it looks like the Covington trade was, revolutionary, I still don't think the Rockets are going to go to the finals. I just believe that their style of play is not sustainable. I believe there are teams in the West that could really exploit it. I'm very disappointed in the Lakers' performance last night. I wish they would have used their big guys more. Even post up LeBron more. Post up Anthony Davis more. Since they're going to be the guys taking most of the shots anyway, at least make them post up. Don't have LeBron shoot 8 3-pointers when these little Rockets cannot guard LeBron in the post. Because here's the thing. If PJ Tucker was on LeBron, let's just say, okay, what if PJ Tucker on LeBron? Who's on Anthony Davis? Eric Gordon? Covington? All these other guys, they cannot guard. One of them is going to be a complete mismatch, and you could just get 2 points dang near every single time down the court. So I've been frustrated from the Lakers. There was even a point in the fourth quarter right before LeBron checked back in, 5 minutes left to go, where Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was at the 4. So it's just because the Rockets are playing small, you're playing small. Because the Rockets are shooting threes, you're shooting threes. Because the Rockets are playing fast, you're playing fast. That is not the way to play basketball. You don't play the other team's style. You have to get them uncomfortable and make them play your style. Make them play out of their element. So, definitely very frustrated the way the Lakers played last night, because as a basketball fan, that's just not the way that you win games. And that's why they ended up losing this game. And, Laker fans, they're probably going to be frustrated. Oh, we didn't get Marcus Morris. We lost to the Rockets. And, Covington was hitting a bunch of threes. Why didn't we get him and all this other stuff? And we hate Rondo and we hate Kuzma. And it's not LeBron's fault. It's not AD's fault, which it isn't. But still, I just think that Frank Vogel has definitely got to talk to these guys. And just, I wish if they look at the film and see, look, you had Dwight Howard on Eric Gordon, and they didn't even pass it to him. But there was a particular possession where Eric Gordon's going to Dwight Howard, and there's only 4 minutes he's out there. They don't pass it to Dwight Howard. They shoot a jump shot, miss it. Dwight Howard gets the rebound and puts it back in. Then there was another play that really stood out to me in the fourth quarter. The Lakers are trying to come back in it, and you have Avery Bradley take a off-the-dribble contested mid-range jump shot while you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the court. That's your shot. The Lakers really did not play well. So that is enough of my rants. That's my thoughts on the NBA trade deadline and the Lakers-Rockets game yesterday. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you want more basketball videos, leave a like, comment what you think about the trade deadline and what particular teams are doing, or any other sports things you want to talk about. But until the next one, have a good one, everybody.